Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Cretaceous Critiques, and today is a special episode for me. Today's episode is a movie review on a movie that a great friend of mine had made. That movie is the crossover made by my friend Interdimensional Pack, and you all in my community probably already know who Pax is. Pax is the guy who made the realistic character stills of my OC. This movie has been in production for 4 years, by the way, as of release of that movie. That means that he started the production on it when he was only 14, which is just impressive. And today I'll review that exact movie, which is also gonna be the first video in a series of reviews on all of Pax's animation works, even including the classic shows that he made. And I hope you all enjoy watching the videos as much as I enjoy making them. And another awesome fact about this video, it's a collaboration with Interdimensional Pack. Yes, he and I had an interview, and I will show it after the review. Timestamps are gonna be enabled if I don't forget it this time. The movie starts with the main characters, including the characters of his series Insanity with friends, having a little party, while Pax's brother, Felix, is working on some kind of device in the basement. And I already have something to talk about. I really like Interdimensional Pack's art style. As you can see, it has a more realistic design with more detail on the shading, as well as having more cartoony facial expressions. And to me personally, that blend works perfectly. It's a truly unique art style, which is very nice to look at. I'll talk more about that later on when we get to the pros and cons of the movie. While the party is going on, another dinosaur is watching the house of Pax and his friends from the bushes. That is Nicro, the movie's antagonist. And right after the movie's intro, we get his backstory. Nicro's childhood was normal for the most part. Everyone was just living in peace, until one fateful day, his species was attacked by Indominus Rexus. After that battle ended, every one of his species was dead except for Nicro himself, who was spared because his mother had hidden him beneath branches and leaves. After that traumatic event, he was on his own for some time until he was attacked by raptors, during which he lost the front of his tongue. He probably would have died by bleeding out, but he survived due to being saved by a bird who took care of him. I'll reserve my thoughts on Nicro after the review because I have very choice words on his character and personality. So after we found out Nicro's admittedly very tragic backstory, we cut to the next day, somewhere around afternoon I think. Everyone is minding their own business while Artie is just sleeping.
Artie.
The first hint of Nicro planning an attack on Pax and his friends comes in the form of a letter.
Hello, my friend. I'm sending this note to warn you about the future and karma. The more you create, the bigger the cost is, and one day you'll have to pay up. And if you don't, serious penalties will be forced upon you. And I'm telling you here and now, hoping I don't have to put them into play. Sincerely, Nicro.
But Pax doesn't really have time to think about it, since there's something that he and his friends, except for Felix, who is still working on that device, are going to attend. That something is a live show from a band that Artie is a part of. I honestly wish I could show you a snippet of the show with sound, but the song in the background seems to be a Skillet song, and I want my video to stay up. And that's unfortunate, since we get some insight on Pax's little companion, V, a Venom type character that shares a body with Pax. Within that conversation, we get to know that Pax is more hostile towards V, saying that since he showed up, his life just went downhill. He describes being alone and miserable because of V. The show itself is going well, which is something I'd like to say, but suddenly it has to be cut short, since Pax gets a message from Felix, to which Pax reacts with borderline panic, which shows that something has clearly gone wrong. Everyone rushes back to their home, where they see a shocking sight. Their own home had been set on fire. Even though everyone tries to prevent any further damage, the flames are so hot that the structural integrity is compromised to the point of collapse. Of course, Pax immediately searches for his brother, since Felix decided to stay home, and Pax thought that he had been crushed under the debris. Luckily, Felix is alive and well, and by coincidence, Pax finds a letter from Nicro pinned under a piece of debris, and he noticed something that he seemingly didn't pay attention to before, a scale on the paper. He gives that scale to Felix to see if he knows anything about that.
Pax, this is a scale of a Carcharodontosaurus.
What?
Am I out of the loop or something?
A great battle was held a long time ago between the Indominus Rex species and the Carcharodontosaurus species. Eventually, the Indominus Rex species won, but that did not come without a cost. The Indominus Rex species almost went extinct, leaving me and Felix the only ones left alive.
I swear, almost every scene that Artie is in just cracks me up. I don't know why. Felix, of course, tells everyone that they can stay in the basement because the main house has been destroyed and everyone has to seek shelter somewhere. And we finally get to know what that ominous machine is. It's a teleportation device. Felix made it in hopes of finding other Indominus Rexes, just like him and Pax. But there seems to be some kind of glitch in the system of the device, since it activates on its own, creating a portal where we get to see 3 robotic dinosaurs stepping through the portal, and the red one immediately tries to attack Artie when he sees him, but at the last moment he is stopped by Felix. The reason for the attack is, in the words of the Cyber Dino,
"He replaced us."
But luckily he quickly calms down and he introduces himself and his friends to the others.
My name is Red. The tall one is Sam, and the little guy over there is Timmy.
They explain it there from the year 2015, which in fact is the same year in which Indominus Pax created his channel. Yeah, in fact, for the people who don't know, those 3 characters are from his very first series, Blast from the Past. They explain that their family and their world was destroyed when their creator betrayed them. And when Pax asks Sam what the name of the creator was, a certain scene plays out, which honestly is better to just show you rather than just talking about it. Roll it.
Devil Rex Indominus.
Shut up!
Sorry, I just have a twitch.
That scene is very interesting. We don't see who this character is as of now, but given Pax's very agitated reaction, it's obvious that this someone has some kind of grip over Pax, which he's desperately trying to fight against. Especially when we keep in mind that Pax throughout the movie is one of the more neutral characters. So after some more talking and introducing, the portal device has another glitch, which creates another portal. Those characters are from another one of Pax's past series, Five Nights at Jurassic World. Their names are Rex, I-Rex and Velocity, and a few moments after they step through the portal, I-Rex immediately lunges at Artie but is once again stopped by Felix. Seriously, what did Artie do wrong? Look, I've seen the entirety of Insanity with Friends, so I know how...
Felix! 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 What? Felix! What? I want food! I'm hungry!
Annoying Artie can get, but in this movie he is very tame for his standards, so why are they always trying to murder him? Pax, Felix and I-Rex are all in awe because they are staring at another one of their own kind. Yes, I-Rex is an Indominus Rex, obviously. And I-Rex immediately shows Pax some respect because he has the alpha markings, and according to I-Rex,
Yes, the red stripes. Only ones born with those are most of the time usually alpha.
Pax tries to tell I-Rex that it isn't how things work in his world, but I-Rex does not accept no for an answer, which leads to Pax and I-Rex having a fight. Pax is overpowered at first, until V makes his first appearance. that is a good introduction. Until now we only heard his voice, but we never saw him directly, and you can tell that Indominus Pack really tried to make the wait pay off. And what a good payoff that is. Everything from the transformation to the physical appearance of V, everything works in making him very intimidating. And that frame where Pax is seen behind V's face when he says, "We are V." Just everything works in making him very intimidating and borderline scary even, which perfectly complements the fact that V is supposed to be a demon bounty hunter of sorts, so it's understandable why Indominus Pack decided to make the introduction like that. After this introduction, Pax explains to everyone that came through the portal that he and his friends need help, and that this is also Irex's business because Nicro is on the hunt for all three of them. Of course, everyone is rather reluctant and would rather return to their own dimensions, but Felix lost the coordinates to their worlds. But they promise to get the coordinates back and everyone will be back to their respective dimensions. But for now, everyone decides that it's time to rest.
Alright, newcomers. You all can sleep. Down here.
Artie's such an asshole, but he's giving Rad and Irex their payback for attacking him before, so good for you, buddy. During this night, Pax has a nightmare, and it seems like he had been there before, since he says that he hates being there in the first place. And we get to see who the characters in that world are. The names of these characters are Lucifer and Persephone, and Lucifer is the character that we have seen before in that one scene. Pax tries to run away from them, and during that he sees the graves of all of his friends, and as he looks closer, he sees his own grave. He begins to see an escape route, but before he can get through that, Persephone destroys that path in front of him, and he is captured by Lucifer and is devoured by him. Okay, let's talk about this. First of all, what I like about this sequence is that we finally have a name and a full appearance to this anonymous controller. And Lucifer really looks all out demonic. That dream sequence really shows how terrified Pax is of Lucifer and Persephone. But there is one big problem with this scene, and that is the edits to Lucifer's voice. Look, I get what Indominus Pack was trying to go for. He tried to make Lucifer sound demonic, but there is a big problem with that. His voice is so over-edited, I can't understand what he is saying. I listened to it in every way that I could, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't decipher what Lucifer tried to say there. And now we get to my biggest question about that sequence. What even is the connection between Pax, Persephone and Lucifer? And I have two possible answers to this. One of them, those three are linked to each other due to some kind of ritual, meaning that Pax is either possessed by either Lucifer or Persephone. The second and more likely one is that Persephone and Lucifer are related to Pax. They might be the parents of Pax or maybe some further away relatives, because the markings of both Persephone and Lucifer are extremely similar to the markings that Pax has. But for now, we just have to wait and see. I just thought I needed to throw this in since I immediately noticed that. Anyways, back to the movie. When returning to the basement the next morning, he sees a good old little friend.
What is it?
Bean? Brain? Whoa there, little guy.
This character is called Bean. He is normally more of a joke character. He likes to explode and the only word he knows is his own name, which is Bean. But in this movie, Bean is pretty important. Felix gets new coordinates, but they need to go to a different place to activate the portal, since the portal is around 400 feet in height. While they are going to get to the different location, V spots the bird that took care of Nicro, and it is revealed that this specific bird is a spy for Nicro. So a little bit later, Pax and the others get to the shore to activate the portal, and who steps through that portal? The one and only king of the monsters, Godzilla. And we immediately find out what the purpose of Bean is. He's the only creature who can communicate with Godzilla, and through Bean we find out that his brother, Shin Godzilla, swam away, and everyone decides to follow him. I really like that even a joke character like Bean has some more important roles in Pack's cinematic universe. In my opinion, it is important that even the smallest characters are utilized in a good and respectful manner, which is what Indominus Pack always tries to do. Also, many of you might be surprised that Godzilla is there. there, but it actually makes sense with Pack's channel. He in fact made a Godzilla stop motion series, and it's nice to include it into the crossover in my opinion. After that we cut back to Necro's cave, where he's recruiting some other dinosaurs, and we get to see how much of a manipulator Necro is. He's telling them that it is him being hunted while it is the other way around. He does it to gather their sympathy, which shows how fixated he is on revenge. And the thing right after that shows a fixation yet again. They hunt down Shin Godzilla and use a mind control device on him to make Shin Godzilla completely subservient to Necro. While that is going down, Pax and Red have some time to talk and bond, and to be honest, it is a pretty heartwarming scene. It shows that Pax cares about all of them, even though he barely knows the people that came through the portal. They talk about how Red seems to recognize Pax from before, to which Pax is of course confused since it is the first time where they have seen each other. He explains that there might be other dinosaurs just like Pax. A short time after that, Godzilla finds Shin Godzilla. Okay, for the rest of the synopsis, I'll refer to them as Goji and Shin. Goji tries to fight Shin to free him, but Goji is overpowered by him, leaving Goji on the verge of dying. But luckily, Pax knows how to heal him, and for that, RT, Irex and him go right to the jungle.
Why in all the Ricks and Mortys are we in the jungle?
In that jungle, there is a shrine of sorts where another Indominus Rex is living.
Hello, Pax.
Hello, Indo.
Oh no. What? All I'm gonna say is I'm going outside for some fresh air.
What's with him?
I don't ever know.
It's official, Archie's listing me personality-wise but with extra steps. Inda is kind of a godlike character. She can heal others with ease, and she of course is able to heal Goji. While she and Pax are talking, Irex notices a box or a casket being sealed off by a white cross, and I'll be honest, I'm interested in what might be in that box or casket, and I hope it will be revealed soon. And now, to be honest, I have to end the synopsis. The reason for this is simple. The next scenes are the final battle and the climax, and since the movie is fairly new, having been released only 9 months ago, I don't feel comfortable with spoiling the climax. The movie itself is linked in the description, and I really recommend you watching for yourself. I'm sure you'll like it. Anyways, let's get to the pros and cons I have for the movie. Let's start with the positive aspects. The first one is the animation style. Indominus Pack uses a mixture of Ibis Paint, stop motion studio and CapCut to make those animations. I can only respect this approach. I only can imagine how complicated and frustrating this approach has to be, but this approach makes this animation style very unique, and it's a style I have never seen before, and it's pretty nice to look at. The second thing I really like, and it was hard for me not to talk about that until now, is Necro as a character. So, in my opinion, a good antagonist needs to have a proper motive to do the things they do. I don't like villains that are just evil for the sake of being evil. And here, the motive for Necro is an inherent hatred for the species that took his own family away from him. He was very young when he lost his own family, so he sees it as his duty to avenge his species by eradicating the entire Indominus Rex species. And he tries everything to get that revenge. He's willing to let the protagonist die when burning down their house, he manipulates others and all out enslaved Shin Godzilla, which just shows how far he's willing to go for revenge. His trauma of losing his family at such a young age left him completely broken, and Indominus Pack did a fantastic job in showing that. And while we're now on the talk about characters, I like how each universe from him was represented. From the designs to the personalities of those characters, they are memorable in one way or another. Timmy, Sam and Red are memorable with their designs, as well as Red being probably the most explored character out of the interdimensional characters. The characters from F and AJW were more ruthless characters, which fits the characters of a Jurassic World FNAF crossover. Making Irex the most explored character for that universe makes also sense, due to the simple fact that he is also an Indominus Rex, so Necro is also on the hunt for him. And now we get to the more negative parts, and that boils down to technical errors. So I just explained that I like his animation style. In this movie, the style is really rough. First of all, the lighting is very inconsistent here. In most scenes there is some good lighting, but sometimes there are scenes where the characters don't have have the right lighting, which makes it feel as if the characters don't belong in that environment, which is very jarring to look at. There are also problems with perspective shots. Take for example this shot right here. It's supposed to show everyone from up ahead, but in that perspective everyone looks like a Paper Mario NPC. But that can be easily explained. It was the first time that Pax ever had such an ambitious project, and it was the first time he did an animation project like this. So he wasn't that experienced at the time, and that problem is definitely fixed in Multiversal Strings. But I'll be honest, I like the more rough design. In it you can see Pax's evolution as an artist and an animator, and the animation, even though it is pretty rough, it looks good. You can tell that he put a lot of effort into this project, so I can't be too critical of it. And honestly, those are all negatives I really have, and even then, those negatives aren't really negatives. But now we get to the point that many of you have probably waited for, the interview between him and me. I'll now play it. Enjoy. So, welcome to the interview with Indominus Pack. First of all, I'm glad to do this interview. Anyways, let's get right into the questions. The first question from me is, what was the main inspiration for the crossover?
So, for the inspiration for this film went all the way from certain popular films such as Avengers, Godzilla films, and some Jurassic Park films. But overall, the story was my idea, and I had a pretty firm grasp on what I wanted it to be from the start.
Yeah, you could see the inspirations, and it is honestly admirable that you had so much grasp on the story at only 14. Speaking about that, in my video I mentioned that you started production on the movie when you were 14, so that is my second question. How even was the developing process for that movie?
Alright, time for the pain and suffering part of the film. It took me 5 years to make this film. Started all the way back when I hit just 100 subscribers. I believe that was in 2019? Possibly? Maybe? I don't remember. Now, when I first announced this project, it was very, very, very early in its development. Like, the script hasn't even been finished yet. So me, being the naive kid I was, I announced it way too early on. It took 1 whole year to land a script, a half a year to get voice actors and voice acting done, then the rest of the time was for animation. And God, the animation is so rough! In some parts, like, I can see how I grew up in my animation style in areas where either the lighting was good or the lighting was not even present.
Yeah, I absolutely understand that pain. We all did announce something back then way too early. But you actually finished your movie, and as I've said in the pros and cons, I don't think the animation was that bad. It was your first big animation project, so of course it won't be the best, but the animation was very good for the most part nonetheless. Anyways, the next question may be a bit more nostalgic for you and your YouTube past. Are the universes in the crossover based on past series that you have made?
Yes, the universes in the crossover are based on past series. For example, Blast from the Past is from my very first characters from my channel, Red, Timmy, and Sam. There was Five Nights at Jurassic World, you had Rex, Irex, and Velocity, and then you had the Godzilla stop motion series, which was Godzilla and Shin Godzilla that came up in this. And then also you had Insanity with Friends. Insanity with Friends was one of my favorite series that I did when I was younger. But I'm so glad I was able to bring those characters back for one last hurrah.
And what a last hurrah it was. Anyways, let's do the next question. So as we know, your animations have an established timeline. So the question is, based on the visuals in Fire and Sun episode 1, is Fire and Sun a direct sequel to the crossover?
Alright, time for some timeline explaining. So, Fire and Sun is not the direct sequel to crossover, but it is a sequel to the crossover in the sense it's in the same universe, but it doesn't happen right after the crossover. It happens right after Multiversal Strings. Multiversal Strings was the sequel to the crossover, but then Fire and Sun is the sequel to Multiversal Strings, and so on and so forth.
Oh, okay, that's interesting, because as I've already said, I'll review all of your animated projects, and I'm already more than excited for my review of Multiversal Strings. All I can say now is that I am very positive on Multiversal Strings. So, I have 2 more important questions I have to ask, and that is about 2 characters from a universe. What is the meaning behind V and Bean?
Hahaha, you want to know the meaning behind V and Bean? Well, I can explain Bean pretty well. He's a...
What is wrong with me?
Hoffer, I'm done the race, by the way.
Please! Man!
on, guys, stop hitting me.
What do you mean mad? I've been getting fucking ass this whole time!
I don't even know what he is. He's just a little creature that likes to explode and survive and then just say bean all the time and gets very angry at video games. While V, how do I describe him? V, you want to come out and talk?
Oh, hell yeah. Well, if you want to know what I was, just ask. I'm a demon, not created, not born, but made to destroy. Demons like me were made to hunt certain targets above the surface. Those targets I will not list because it will get me in a lot of trouble with a certain someone. And that certain someone has a problem with using fire and burning everything around him. But, yeah, if you know him, you know him. That's it. That's all I'm gonna get into. Oh, wait. Bean? Bean, get out of the trash! Bean, for the love of God!
Well, thanks for the interview, Pax. It was great having that interview with you, and I hope we can do this again someday. Also, good luck with Bean. So, what are my final thoughts on the crossover? Overall, it's a pretty good movie. We still have to keep in mind, Pax was only 14 when he came up with the idea, and that he was able to push through with that so it could be released 4 years after the announcement is honestly admirable. And while having 1 or 2 problems, the positive qualities outweigh the bad qualities. Overall, my final rating of the movie is a 7 out of 10. It's a well-made movie throughout, and looking at the next project from Pax that I will review, it will only get better from there on out. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thanks to Indominus Pax, Spino Blues, Spinozilla 2005, Dragon and Gator Boy for helping my channel with making art for it, and I hope you all enjoyed my very first movie review. I'll see you all in the next Cretaceous Critiques episode. Stay cold and goodbye everyone.